Hi. So if you're here, you're wondering what it's like to have a Mac off surgery, full detachment or retinal detachment, or any of the above. Um, I'm 41 years old. I had always had a steady vision of about 275 negative. Um, I had cataract surgery about 2 years ago on my left and my right eye. My right eye has always, this one has always been somewhat my bad eye. Since I've been a little kid, I've always had stupid little tics, and my right eye has moved a lot. My left eye, not so much. Um, I had cataract surgery about 2 years ago. I don't have diabetes or any other health problems in that consent. Um, it went good. I didn't have any complications. About 3 weeks ago, I was driving home with my family, and I started seeing flashes of light in my eye. It looked very much like somebody was shining a laser in my eye or something. It was just really noticeable, and it looked like I needed to get into the emergency room. So I did. I went to, at that time, Yuba City emergency room. I was seen by an ER doctor. He did ultrasound in my eye, but he said he wasn't an actual eye doctor. He wanted to be safe, so he suggested that I go to UC Davis Medical Group Hospital, where I could be seen by an actual eye doctor, optometrist. So I did, and he did all the tests on me. He'd had me look left, right, multiple times, down, sideways, and he said I didn't have any kind of retinal tears or detachments. So he said to follow through with my eye doctor in 4 weeks. Let me kind of stop people here and tell you this. I've always kind of thought that an optometrist was the head honcho as far as eye doctors go in seeing things. Let me stop you. A retinal specialist is a step above that. Now, this eye doctor did say I had a vitreous detachment, which is something that happens when we all age. There's a gel-like substance that detaches from the back of the eye, and sometimes it tugs on the retina, and it can create lights and floaters and things like that. But small percentage of people also get tears and breaks and experience a retinal detachment. It's more prone for people with cataract surgery. It's kind of almost unheard of because a lot of younger people don't get cataracts, so you don't see a lot of information about this. So anyways, this was, like I said, about 3 weeks ago when it happened, and I called my eye doctor the next day. He told me I'd see floaters for a while, but everything should be fine. About a week later, I was getting close to our vacation. We were planning on going on a cruise to in Long Beach, my family. And I was concerned, so I stopped at another eye care center in Chico. And he did the same tests on me. He had me look left, right, everything else, because I was still seeing this weird shadow in my eye that just didn't look right, but everybody had told me it's normal, and I believed it. So I had done my diligence. I had gone to the doctors, so I was supposed to. I asked the questions. He said I would be fine, to be on the lookout for anything major. So last Sunday, we started driving towards Long Beach, and about halfway there, maybe a little bit less, I started seeing multiple black dots in my vision, and I saw what looked like an oil slick in my eye. If I looked left or right, it would move, and I could see perfectly. I was still able to see straight ahead perfectly besides the dots, but I knew something was wrong. So at that point, I started calling around looking for help. It's a Sunday, and I needed to find an emergency room that my health insurance would cover. So I found one in Bakersfield that was 2.5 hours away, Kern emergency room. And I told him the situation. I'd be coming in, I'm having an eye problems. It could be a retinal detachment or a tear. So they said to come in, and I did. When I got there, I was seen by a Dr. Silva Boygian, I believe. She was a younger lady, and she was an ER doctor, and she immediately told me my eye looked odd. The pressure was high. She had me do an eye exam, and I was able to look straight ahead and see 20/10, which was great because I still had central vision in my eye. But below that and to the left, it was just like an oil slick. So at that point, I told her I really need to see an actual eye doctor. She came out and tried to do an ultrasound in my eye, but she didn't really know how to use the machine. She tried twice, and she said she saw nothing. She said I probably have acute glaucoma. And I'm like, I've never had any problems. I don't have any eye pain. My eye pressure is not that high. It's not that, ma'am. I really need to see an eye doctor, please. She assured me that wasn't the case, and that I was fine, and it didn't constitute an emergency. Man, I wish I was more... I just wish I would have just said more. I did say something to the other nurse, and she agreed with me that an eye doctor should come out under my situation and knowing my history, but they didn't. The odd thing is this doctor then said, okay, well, I can refer you to a doctor tomorrow you can go to over the hill, which is the Grapevine, which is a pretty high altitude climb. So if there was a retinal tear detachment, it'd be worse. I guess because I had gone to those two previous doctors and then gone to this doctor, I thought I'd be okay. I don't know. Maybe I was thinking this in my head. I don't know what to think. I knew there was something wrong, but I trusted this emergency room doctor, which was horrible. So I went over the Grapevine, and it got worse. I called this on-call doctor she had given me and found out that, he was not really the best of guy. He didn't want to talk to me. It was late. He said, just come in. He said, I don't want to deal with it right now. And that was about 3 a.m. I looked at his reviews. He had horrible reviews. So I called up a retinal specialist in Long Beach at that point, and I talked to somebody there, and they had me come in first thing in the morning with my girlfriend. We were supposed to be going on a cruise at 2 o'clock that day, which was Monday. He looked at me for a couple minutes and he said, you have a full 70% retinal detachment with Mac Off. Well, I know what these terms are meaning now, but I didn't know back then what that meant. My girlfriend started crying. I'm trying to keep it in, knowing now what's gonna be involved. It was hard. I was out of Sacramento. It's in LA. I really didn't know what to do. My mom started crying when she found out. So I didn't want them to not go on their trip, and they wanted to stay with me, and I get that, but I told them to go. At that point, I found out my medical insurance would not cover me for a surgery unless I went to the hospital or back to my area of Sacramento. So at that point, I didn't know if I should get on a plane. I got onto a bus and started going towards Sacramento. It was a very just horrible process trying to call my health insurance and figure out what to do. You can't just walk into a vision area and say, I need help. You have to either go to a hospital or you had to go to your area. So my eye doctor had set up an appointment the following day at 7 a.m. to be seen by a retinal consultant in Sacramento. My bus would get there about 1 o'clock in the morning. When I was in LA, I made a split decision choice to try to go to UC Hospital in LA because they had learning doctors and optometrists there, which was another bad decision, by the way. I found that these ER doctors have no clue on what to look for retinal tears and detachments. I was seen by another emergency room doctor at that point. He couldn't find the retinal tear until an optometrist came in and said, look to the left and look to the right. And then he saw the big flap. And the emergency room doctor came in and said that my eye was unsalvageable, is what he told me. He said to plead for the optometrist to come in and try to get a surgery. But he says optometrist says that most likely it's past the point of fixing and it's not going to do any good doing a surgery now. You know, it's heartbreaking to hear that when you have no hope. I finally was seen by that actual eye doctor there and a second eye doctor. They told me that when your central vision goes off, that it's no longer an emergency. And they see central vision still, and they see tears and breaks and the detachment, but your central vision's there. They do everything they can to get you to do a surgery. Otherwise, they say it doesn't matter if you do it within 1 day or 3 days, which is interesting. So at that point, it was about 10 o'clock at night. I asked my doctor if it's safe to fly. I called Southwest up. Burbank had the first plane going to Sacramento. So I went to Burbank, and it's about 1 o'clock when I got there, and I slept in the lobby there, waiting for the plane to come. Not one person there. It was just super quiet and not even security. Lights on, music playing, my eye going blind. It was a very odd moment. I got to Sacramento about 9 o'clock. My dad picked me up and took me to retinal consultants in Sacramento. I was pretty much at a loss of hope at this point. I didn't think anybody was going to do a surgery for me quick or help me, and that they just didn't care, and there was no chance of ever getting eyesight back. I was seen by a doctor there in Citrus Heights, and it was just amazing. She was so nice. She cared. I could see the compassion. I believe her name was Dr. Chun or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't have it on me, but just a great lady. And she said, I'm going to try to get you surgery right now. She was able to call the surgery center, and I went to Mercy General and had surgery done within about an hour. They put a buckle in my eye, they did laser, and they also did the gas while I'm on my side right now. Heads up on this eyepiece, I wear it because when you're sleeping, you don't hit your eye or something. I've also found it to be beneficial during the day. It just keeps the light out so bright. Surgery went well. I was pretty much knocked out. Didn't experience any pain until the day afterwards, and then it was pretty bad pain. And every time I moved my eye, I could feel it. I don't know what's going to happen with the Mac Off. It's only been a couple of days since I've had the surgery. I can see some movement, like my hand movement, some light movement. When I'm in the bathroom and there's bright lights, I can look down and I can see certain objects. I was even able to see the letters on my shirt, which is a good sign. But you're looking through gas, so it's hard. Anybody watching this, I hope that if you've had a vitreous detachment, or you're wondering if you have a tear or anything like that, that you'll go to a retina specialist immediately, not just an eye doctor. I can't stress that. If you go to an emergency room, don't expect them to find out that you have a retinal detachment until it's really detached. And do everything you can to be seen by somebody that knows what to look for. Time is really the essence. They don't tell you this. They don't tell you that if it goes beyond a certain point, that they don't care to do a surgery for 3 or 4 days because it makes no difference at that point. You know, I hope and I pray I'll get some eyesight back in my eye. You go on Google and you Google Mac Off Retinal Detachment. It's just it's all numbers and jumbers. You don't understand any of it. Excuse me for my phrases or my language if I've not pronounced things correctly. It's been a rough week, and I don't understand all these medical terms, or am I pronouncing them correctly? So I apologize. Your eyesight's so important, and I just really wish I had more information and knew more now than I knew 2 or 3 weeks ago when I first had this vitreous detachment happen in my eye. And like I said, this is something that happens to everybody as we age. Some people never even notice it. But if you've had cataract surgery, if you're more nearsightedness, I mean, you're more prone to getting this. I was only at negative 275 before the surgery, my cataract surgery. I wasn't horrible, but that vitreous detachment pulled on my retinal, and there created the tear, which then created the break. And 3 doctors couldn't see this, but a retina specialist was able to see this immediately. But I am really upset at the eye doctor in Bakersfield. I think at that point, she could have called in an eye doctor. They would have seen this big detachment, and my central vision would have been saved. I can't stress how upset I am at that hospital not that hospital, but that emergency room doctor for wanting to refer me to go to an eye doctor the next day, which, by the way, I'd have to pay out of pocket because he wouldn't accept my insurance, which is great for him. And I'm assuming he's probably the on-call doctor. But she wouldn't constitute all the things that she noticed with my history is at least taking a chance and having an eye doctor come out to look at me. You know, I don't know if she'll ever watch this video, but I hope and I pray that the next patient that comes in there, if you're unsure, you call an eye doctor up. Because when somebody's seeing all these dots and liquid in their eye, it's a serious condition. And it's just rather to be safe than sorry. You know, you could have saved my eye. I mean, if you had had an eye doctor come in and actually look and seen that detachment, because 9 hours later it was 70% detached. And all it took was for you to just take one step and have an actual eye doctor look at me and look for those tears and breaks, and I could have had that surgery and saved most of my vision. And for those that are wondering about the surgery, like I said, it's painful a little bit afterwards, but it's not unbearable. I think with how long your detachment's off and how old you are and your pre-existing conditions, have the best outlook for what eyesight you'll retrieve afterwards. But I hope all of you that if you're going through this, that you stay strong and know that, you know, God has a plan for everybody. I don't know what that plan is for me right now. I've had some issues lately that I don't know how to get through, and it's hard. Do I really want to see with one eye? No. Do I feel upset and hurt? Yes. I'm trying to be strong, but I do hope that you consult a specialist. Do not go to just a regular eye doctor. You know, get seen by somebody that knows what they're doing. And if you are in an emergency situation, do not go to the emergency room and expect them to find this instantly. It's not easy to see. These emergency room doctors are not trained for it, and some of them don't care. So your eyesight's so important, and you're going to beg yourself afterwards that you would have done more, like I did. So I will update you guys in maybe a couple weeks or a month or something and let you know how it's going, if it's gotten better, worse, whatever. Like I said, I can see some objects, but it's very small at this moment, which is normal, I believe, for at least a couple weeks. All right, take care, everybody.